It's Monday, June 14th, and this is now on H&N.
At this point, we have one confirmed DOA.
On the Big Island, a man is fatally shot after allegedly firing on responding officers.
The question we should be asking is why, not how.
After a weekend of mass shootings, new concerns about the summer ahead. I'm Bradley Blackburn with how pandemic stress may be fueling violence.
So why are some of the alternatives talking about ending at Middle Street? Why do we keep hearing this?
I'm not saying that.
The CEO of Rail talks to us about what she's doing to get the project back on track.
There's a basic wheel-rail interface. It needs to work correctly.
These stories plus new travel rules are going into effect this week for the state. Details coming up on This Is Now. Good afternoon. Thank you for watching This Is Now. We want to get started with some breaking news coming to us live out of Illinois. This is in the town of Rockton, Illinois, which is outside Chicago near Rockford. This is what's burning right now. There has been an explosion at a chemical plant. I'm told this is called Chem Tool. About 1,000 people have been evacuated from this scene. I have another vantage point to show you here. Here's another live image coming in to our H&N Digital Center right now. For our podcast listeners, you can just see black smoke billowing into the air. A huge fireball still going. This fire got started several hours ago. I believe it was around 8 a.m. Central Time, so that tells you how long this fire has been raging. The company says, luckily, everyone has been accounted for and is safe. No injuries have been reported. Again, this breaking news coming to us from Rockton, Illinois. A chemical plant fire still burning at this hour. We'll continue to monitor this breaking news, bring you any updates as we get them. In the meantime, thanks for watching This Is Now. I'm Jonathan, alongside Mark here, who's in for Ashley today.
Yeah, and another top story, Big Island police are investigating a deadly officer-involved shooting. This was out in Waianaku. That's today's top story at this noon hour.
On arrival, officers attempted to make contact with the parties within the residence.
The incident happened around 7 last night on Waianaku Street after police responded to a home following reports of a domestic abuse case. Hawaii County Police said the man was fatally shot after he fired at officers.
Early stages of the investigation, and just trying to put the pieces together.
The suspect has been identified as 34-year-old Ryan Santos of Hilo. An elderly man on scene was taken to the hospital but did not suffer any gunshot wounds.
He suffered what we believe is some type of medical condition and was transported to the hospital.
Police say an administrative investigation is underway. The officer who discharged a weapon is being described as a veteran of the force.
Criminal investigation section is conducting a criminal investigation at this point, and then our Office of Professional Standards, Internal Affairs, is conducting an administrative investigation as well.
We'll continue to follow this story and bring you any updates we get on later editions of Hawaii News Now and on your H&N digital platforms.
New at noon, a KAPAA man is now in custody after a major drug bust by the Kauai Police Department. KPD arrested 36-year-old Joshua Grimes following a search warrant that turned up more than 200 grams of methamphetamine, 55 grams of heroin, and $2,000 cash. He's been charged with multiple drug-related offenses and is being held on $215,000 bail. In national news, the rate of gun crime across the country spiked last year and doesn't appear to be slowing down. Bradley Blackburn has more.
A deadly weekend of gun violence. In Austin, Texas, shots rang out early Saturday morning on a street filled with bars and restaurants, killing 25-year-old Doug Cantor and wounding more than a dozen others.
Almost all of those victims are innocent bystanders.
In Savannah, Georgia, a gunman outside an apartment complex killed one person and wounded 7 others, including a toddler.
You got to try to find a way to make some kind of sense out of it, because this is senseless.
More shootings in Chicago and Cleveland in what could be a trend heading into the summer. The Gun Violence Archive counts at least 272 mass shootings in the U.S. so far this year. That's defined as incidents with 4 or more people shot and more than 8,900 gun deaths. The group says mass shootings spiked to 610 in 2020, more than the previous 6 years tracked.
I'm concerned about the trends we're seeing.
Warren Eller is an associate professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. He says the pandemic is an enormous factor.
It creates layers and layers of stress, which bring out layers and layers of behaviors that we wouldn't see under less stressful times.
And as more people return to public spaces, they bring that stress with them, a potential root cause of violence that is hard to address.
I think the question we should be asking is why, not how. We're still not doing anything to change those drivers, to change that behavior.
Leaving communities across the country to deal with pandemic-fueled violence with no easy cure. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Now to a reminder, Oahu is now in Tier 4. That means larger social gatherings indoors and outdoors at restaurants, bars, arcades, and other businesses. Tier 4 also allows indoor organized sports with a limited amount of spectators. However, the city says it will not be opening gyms until August. We're also getting a better idea of what's ahead. At 60% or higher vaccination rate, Oahu moves into Tier 5. That would loosen restrictions even further. And if 70% of Oahu's population gets fully vaccinated, the tier system drops altogether. New travel rules go into effect this week for Hawaii as the state continues to see more progress with its vaccination efforts. Here's Lacey Denise with more details.
Starting Tuesday, those traveling inter-island will no longer need to take a pre-travel COVID test. Quarantine rules are also being dropped entirely. Previously, those traveling from Oahu to a neighbor island and those traveling between neighbor islands had to test negative for COVID-19 or present proof of vaccination. Rules are also changing for trans-Pacific travel on Tuesday. Those who have been vaccinated in Hawaii will be able to forego the 10-day quarantine without getting a COVID test. However, those who were vaccinated anywhere else will still have to take a test before flying to Hawaii. If not, they will need to quarantine for 10 days. In order to prove your vaccination status, you have to upload a copy of your vaccine card to the Safe Travels website. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
A record weekend for airports across the country. The Transportation Security Administration says it screened more than 2 million people on Friday and another 2 million on Sunday. It's the first time screenings were above the 2 million mark since the pandemic started in March 2020. The numbers will likely grow as Americans fly this summer to visit family or go on vacation. Airlines say business travel has not recovered yet. In another travel-related story, increased reports of disruption on planes. A man had to be subdued in the middle of a flight over the weekend. Errol Barnett explains.
This was the chaotic scene aboard Delta Flight 1730 Friday night as travelers were called into action to assist the flight crew in subduing a disruptive man.
And then you hear the pilot from the cockpit going, "If there's any large men on board, please come to the front of the plane immediately. We have a crazy passenger."
Brandon Azarian says he was seated near the off-duty Delta flight attendant who caused the scene and watched this struggle up close.
It's a huge fight. They get him down on the floor and he's flailing everywhere. His legs are flying in the air, his arms, he's screaming. There's passengers screaming, especially after a year of being locked up. We're all finally vaccinated, trying to fly, trying to travel, and just everyone is acting crazy on planes now, and it's making people not want to fly.
Earlier this month, another man was restrained after trying to breach the cockpit on a flight from LAX to Nashville. While in May, this woman was charged with felony battery after video showed her punching a Southwest flight attendant. And while air rage has been an issue for decades, this surge in conflict has some flight attendants scared to work. That's according to Sarah Nelson, the president of the Flight Attendants Association.
We are on track to have 60 times the number of unruly passengers as we might have had in a typical year.
Over just the last 6 months, the FAA says it received almost 3,000 reports of unruly passengers, mostly related to refusing to comply with mask mandates.
People have an idea that on the plane, it's a different set of rules. Not to mention all the stresses that people experienced over the last year, all the uncertainties that they went through. People are feeling like enough is enough, and they're really acting out. And now they're getting out and wanting to be free. And the first thing that they have in front of them is a combat over a mask.
Now, in an effort to curb some of these outbursts, several airlines have banned alcohol sales in flight indefinitely.
But with longer security lines and more crowded planes, the fear is that this may just be the beginning of a difficult summer of travel. And a reminder for everyone, the mask mandate for air travel remains in place until September 13th. Errol Barnett, CBS News at Reagan National Airport.
The HART interim CEO gave us an update today on rail and the timeline for when rides will start. Here's a portion of what she had to say on Sunrise.
You know, we wanted to start by talking about the steel crossovers. There have been reported problems not only with cracks, but the tires being too wide. And I wanted to get an update on that situation from you.
Sure.
Do we have any idea how much it's going to cost?
Actually, the wheels are too small for the width of the track. So I think a couple of weeks ago, Hawaii News Now quoted me as saying by the end of this year, riders should be able to ride the train. And what I said at the board meeting was the goal is still to get the system over to Department of Transportation Services. And in order to address the wheel-rail interface with the frogs and the wheels, we did hire a third-party consultant, TTCI, and they're going to analyze the speed through the frogs. And if their analysis comes back okay, it's due by the end of August. All the stars line up, we do the trial running. Trial running has to run for 90 days without any glitches. If there's any glitch, we have to start the clock over. But if the trial running goes good, the TTCI report comes back, we can still hand the system over to DTS, and it's actually up to DTS and the mayor if they open up the system and let riders come on.
That would only be from Leeward Community College
to the stadium.
To the stadium, okay.
It's from KAPAA all the way to the stadium.
Okay, so possibly.
Possibly.
By the end of the year. Possibly.
Possibly.
I guess my question for you has to do with the tires. To me, I'm just like, how much money have you spent? How many people have you hired? How can this possibly happen?
Correct. So this was something that came up late last year, and then, you know, when I came aboard, it's like, oh my God, what are you talking about? So what happened was when HART purchased all of the tracks, they provided it to the contractor, Hitachi, and Hitachi purchased or manufactured the trains and the wheels. And for the most part, when it's going straight, it works. It's fine. It's when you come over those frogs, the crossover, that's where the issue. And nobody noticed it until our consultant was watching during the study, during the testing, that, it's a little bit, it's half-inch thinner than it should be. So
the tire is
wheels are too
thin, meaning that it's a safety hazard because the track is wider than the wheel. Is that correct?
Well, so when it's coming through the crossover, yes, there's some give over there. You want it protected so that it comes straight where it's supposed to, cross where it's supposed to. So we're going to address that, though.
You're going to address it. Who pays for it?
Right now, it's not clear. We still need to negotiate with Hitachi. The contract is pretty clear in that it's the wheel-rail interface lies with Hitachi, but you need to look at the contract language to see where the responsibility really lies.
But you don't think that will delay or add cost to this?
It could. So
could.
depending on the TTCI report in August, if the speed through those tracks is an issue, the tracks will have to be removed. And that's going to be whether it's 1 year, 2 year delay, because you need to manufacture the tracks, bring it here, take out the old ones, put in the new ones, and retest everything. But that doesn't affect the opening of the entire system. This is just the interim opening that is affected.
Okay, how many crossovers are we talking about, and where exactly are these?
There's 12 crossovers through the system. So 12 of them will have to be 12 crossovers, and within the crossovers, there's 8. So what is that, 96?
So, glad you did the math, not me. So right now, you're not talking about all of them, because you haven't constructed all of them.
Correct.
So how many are we talking about right now?
No, if we have to replace the tracks before we even go to the second or third segments, the tracks will be replaced before they even lay it out on the guideway.
Okay. So again, how did this happen?
I don't know.
I mean, because my understanding is, you know, you have contractors and you have people in HART who are supposed to oversee this.
I have no explanation. I inherited this mess, and now I'm just trying to fix it the best way I can.
Okay. Do you think that there are going to be more problems like this in the future?
Geez, I hope not. But as it is uncovered, I'm going to address them.
Well, it's been 2 weeks since the state re-implemented the work search requirement for the unemployed. Sammy Salina caught up with those who are back in the job hunting market.
They told me there are a lot of job postings, but for highly sought after positions, there is a lot of competition, and finding a suitable job isn't exactly easy.
I've never had to apply for a position just because I have to apply.
Valeria Malkowski is an unemployed retail manager who said she's applied to a good handful of positions, but there's a lot of competition right now. She did interview for a job that was half her salary pre-pandemic, which she didn't end up taking.
Right now, I understand that maybe I won't be able to get paid what I was getting paid before.
Regulations say you don't have to take unsuitable work or a position way below your pay grade, but some say they'll just be applying to meet the requirement. Yvonne Gu has a job lined up for July, but she's required to log a job search.
It does. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste their time. I know if I was an employer and somebody came into an interview and just said, hey, I have a job lined up, I only applied because I had to, I would be disappointed.
2 weeks ago, we talked to JD Rodrigues, who had a case pending for months. She was worried that with the new requirement, the office would never get back to her case. Soon after the interview, they did take a look, and now she's searching for a job.
There's a lot of postings out there. It's just a matter of finding the right fit. Everyone else is searching for jobs as well.
We also talked to a mother who is an unemployed tour company worker. Candace Pacheco said she's a little worried to go back to work in the tourism industry because of health concerns.
Like, I'm praying to God that, He will bless me with a good job and a good paying job. I gotta do it. I mean, in order for survival for me and my family.
If you do have specific questions about the job search requirement, the office has set up an FAQ that you can find on HawaiiUnemploymentInfo.com. We did ask for an interview with the unemployment office, but they did not respond to our request. Sammy Solina for This Is Now.
All right, thanks, Sammy. Back here in the H&N Digital Center, we just got those numbers in from the State Department of Health.
Yes, the latest statistics from the state, 56 new infections reported today, no deaths. The county-by-county breakdown goes as follows. 21 cases on Oahu, Maui has 14. 4 on the Big Island, Kauai has 7. 10 infections reported out of state. And for more information and everything that is happening with the case count and vaccinations, head to HawaiiNewsNow.com.
Let's get to some good news, because look how gorgeous it is outside, and I am told that it's going to remain for a little while. Here's Guy Hoggy with your weather update.
How's it on this Monday? Gorgeous trade wind weather. In fact, the weather's not going to change very much for the next several days, so expect lots of sunshine on the leeward sides. If anything, with regard to rain, we might see a few overnight and early morning showers, mainly for windward areas, and those trade winds will be running breezy, especially from Maui to Kauai. They'll be running about 15 to 20 miles an hour, lighter for the Kona side of the Big Island, so it's going to be humid down over there. Otherwise, we've got gorgeous weather today. After some morning clouds burn off, we'll have lots of sunshine for leeward sides. High temperatures running into the mid to upper 80s, and those trade winds will be helping to keep us cool, blowing into 15 to 20. And because those trade winds are brisk and breezy, we still have that choppy trade wind swell. Otherwise, the waves are going to be relatively small today. A bigger swell is due in to the South Shore starting on Thursday, building over the weekend. And that could get some maybe near advisory level waves over the weekend for South Shores. So trade winds, fairly dry conditions today and tomorrow, maybe a few windward and Mauka showers, and look for a few more clouds to start building as we head into the weekend. And over the weekend, look for a few more showers. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Happening right now, President Biden continues his 8-day international trip. We've got Natalie Brand at the White House with the latest developments.
President Biden stressed the importance of a strong NATO alliance in combating new security challenges, including threats posed by China.
Russia and China are both seeking to drive a wedge in our transatlantic solidarity.
In a statement after their meeting, the heads of the 30 NATO countries also took aim at Russian aggression, saying Russia's actions constitute a threat to Euro-Atlantic security.
I'm not looking for conflict with Russia, but that we will respond if Russia continues its harmful activities.
The NATO leaders noted new challenges, including disinformation and cyber warfare, suggesting the alliance's founding treaty should be updated to include emerging threats.
President Biden will have the chance to discuss the issue face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday, following recent cyber attacks believed to be caused by Russian actors.
There are areas where we can cooperate if he chooses. If he chooses not to cooperate and acts in a way that he has in the past relative to cybersecurity and some other activities, then we will respond.
In an interview with NBC News ahead of the summit, Putin claims Russia is not to blame.
We have been accused of all kinds of things, election interference, cyber attacks, and so on and so forth. And not one time did they bother to produce any kind of evidence or proof.
Cyber attacks, Russian aggression towards Ukraine and other European neighbors, as well as human rights violations, have pushed U.S.-Russia relations to the lowest point in decades. But President Biden is hoping to put the relationship on a better path and find common ground with Putin on climate change and ending the violence in Syria. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
I got something the internet is going to be talking about in the next 24 hours, and it's for all our photographers out there, really, because tomorrow is officially Nature Photography Day, which means it's a perfect opportunity to capture shots out in the wilderness, and there's plenty of opportunities to do that here on the islands, of course. Photo enthusiasts are encouraged to post their photos online with the hashtag Nature Photography Day, and if only I could get outside to take those pictures, I would do it.
It's going to be a very busy day for Instagram, right? How about that?
Some of our colleagues in the newsroom.
Yeah.
Happy Natural Photographer Day.
A lot of feeds flooded. Now, speaking of nature, how about this? Let's introduce you to what could be the world's most expensive houseplant.
What?
You're looking at the very rare Rhaphidophora tetrasperma.
You said it.
Nailed it. It only has 9 leaves, and what also makes it rare is that it features 2 or more different colors. It's sold in a New Zealand auction for more than 27,000 New Zealand dollars, which comes out to about 19,000 US. Your takeaway, John.
Yeah, well, my takeaway is this. It's Father's Day on Sunday, and that could be a good gift for this guy right here, right? You only have a few grand laying around.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're looking for some other ideas, we've got Dan Shinneman here with a full list.
Throw it over here.
After being housebound for much of the last year, people rediscovered what was important to them. As Father's Day approaches, family time remains number 1 on the wish list.
Being able to get together, I mean, I don't need another tie.
So honestly, the spending time, with my kids.
Even though the world is getting a little bit more back to normal this summer, that doesn't mean that Dad is looking for some crazy grand gesture or trip.
Keeping that in mind, what is the best way to celebrate the dad in your life this Father's Day?
With many dads still working from home, now's a good time to think about upgrading his office.
In Fluid Stance, we're all about bringing life to work.
Fluid Stance founder Joel Heath says physical flow is just as important as mental flow.
So a flow card is just a beautiful tool that you can jot a note and you can magnetize it anywhere.
Helping with the balance of work and home are Fluid Stance's ergonomically designed suite of products like the raise, slope, and the level.
It gives you enough movement to matter when you're stuck in those places like your desk or on a Zoom, but not too much that it impacts your keystroke productivity. You just have to invest in the tools that give us the movement and the freedom to be the best we are.
Being the best dad is important to Dominic Miserandino. We spoke to Dominic last year about one of his best Father's Day memories.
We just spent the first 2 or 3 hours just walking and talking. It was the best Father's Day.
His wish for this year remains the same.
Spend time with my family, spend time with my daughter.
A priceless gift that means so much to so many. Dan Shinneman, NBC News.
Your chance, Mark. What do you want?
The gizmos and gadgets were very cool, but I agree with the sentiment at the beginning that quality time is the best gift. And coffee. Coffee, that works too. I'll take more coffee.
You let him off easy this year, Mark. You let him off easy. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this Monday. Mark's going to be here at 4 on KAPAA.